You gotta give it to No Longer Allowed in This Other World. It is an isekai doing something you don't always see, in more ways than one, but the thing that really caught my eye with this week's episode was the fact that with how they portray the other worlders. Now, if we rewind back, I think it was the first episode when Annette was talking about why she was like so gung-ho to like go for our boy who was one bad day away from, well, taking every poison known to man. And guess what? That's every day of his life. So why the hell is she so enthusiastic about this guy? And then we see like, it was like 3 or 4 like little moments of like, oh, every time we summon someone, they're arrogant, egotistical, selfish, like they're just not great people. So we already knew like these isekai characters, they weren't really the best, but I guess my impression was more so like, maybe it's very hard to get good ones, but seemingly they summon them so much. I mean, there's gotta be decent ones out there. And in this episode, we get to see, because if you watched after the credits last week, right, basically what ends up happening is we see Daizai, our sensei's body, and the others, it looks like they get bodied. We don't know why, and the woman who ends up helping us seemingly works for the same church organization as Annette, and she pretty much is like, screw these isekai characters. We don't like them at all. And I was like, oh, that's kind of interesting because, well, there's always like, you know, some of the more popular examples, like a shield hero. If you have large amounts of people summon, there's usually a couple who get the short end of the stick. But in general, they're usually like, oh, they're extra powerful. We use them as soldiers or whatever it is going to be to make our lives better. And this show's pretty much saying screw them all. And by the end of this episode, we have seemingly the group who's responsible for destroying the Dark One and quite literally killed the Demon Lord. His daughter is apparently on a warpath to get revenge, and we'll see where that goes. We'll talk about waifu dragon Demon Lord in a minute. But it's like, you don't always see this, and I'm trying to remember the last time I saw a specific example where it seemingly the world just doesn't like these isekai characters at all. And the fact that we're in a situation where now that you've done something so remarkable, we're in the hero age, right? Like, it hasn't been that up to this point, as you basically have Bandit Keith's long-lost cousin Little America over here trying to rap about why he can solve the financial crisis. Just an absolutely fantastic episode. Now, of course, I do have full live reactions over on Patreon. If you want to see my full and good thought to any of these episodes, it's going to be over there exclusively. My favorite part of this episode was hands down this dude rapping and just, like, Mr. Bling over here. Seriously, like, anyone who's watched Yu-Gi-Oh! Duel Monsters, this dude looks like he could fit in with Bandit Keith, man. Like, this dude was just a menace. And honestly, a ridiculous ability. This dude just lifts his hand and coins fall out. The fact that we have a character who could literally solve so many people's issues. Like, I guarantee you this is the type of mofo who would pass a beggar on the street and say, I could give you a pile of coins, but would you really learn your lesson? And keep on rapping as he walks down the... It's just insane. But, it was an interesting episode because I can't be the only one who was baited very hard by the Dragon Demon Lord girl. Because when I saw that cloak, I was like, oh, it's like... It kind of gave me like an aboriginal vibe or something. I was like, oh, this is going to be someone who, like, yeah, could probably, like, tame dragons and stuff, but she'll be, like, a guide or something, I don't know, and then she takes it off, and she has a dragon tail, and I'm just like, oh. And then she stabs our boy through the chest. At face value, they're saying Sensei has no ability, right? Like, he's talentless. But I don't think that's true. After seeing him get stabbed, now... Depending on the shot, you can argue where he got stabbed, because at face value, it looks like he gets stabbed through the heart. And then when he's on the ground, it looks like the hole slightly below where the heart would be. But either way, he has a hole like that size in his chest. And not only was he able to get back up and talk for a bit before passing out, they then had enough time to drag his bitch ass down the mountain to a church to get healed. Keep in mind, this is a boy who's been... How many pills has he popped? I saw his pill bottle this episode. It's like a third of the way full right now. I'm pretty sure that pill bottle was completely full when he got to his world. He's been injecting himself with every poison known to man, and it would be the most ironic and perfect thing if his ability in this world is he can't die. Imagine being someone who wishes for death, and your isekai magical ability is you can't die. That would be fantastic. Only time will tell, but that's where my head's at as it stands. But obviously, I can't say for sure. I didn't read no source material. It's just, seeing it, like, it'd be different if he just got shot, but it's like, he got everything ruptured, man. Like, it's, how in God's name did he pull through that, but leave it to him. I really enjoyed this episode, though. Like, it just had a vibe to it and a charm, and I love the smugness and just, like, this man has sass. He has a level of sass that you don't always see him. So, there's this moment where he's, like, sitting in his giant armor because they're worried this man's gonna get himself hurt, which, understandable concern. And they put him in the most obnoxious armor, and the other priestess girl comes up and says, hey, like, you know, I'm keeping a net, so back off, remove her from your party. And then, like, the little menu pops up like an old school RPG, and he's like, no, and then do the grin or the smirk, and he just gives, like, the little, it's just ultimate sass. And just, this man's just a meme walking, because the fact that he has trouble writing his book, right? Like, he's struggling to write, which honestly makes, like, this is a character that's based off of a real person who, you know, no longer human, everything like that. So it's like, it's all, like, the characteristics are all based around the actual characteristics of the writer. And the fact that when he's finally able to write is when everything's literally on fire just reminds me of that girl, like, that meme where, like, everything's on fire behind her and, like, she just has, like, a little grin or something. Like, the dude's just chaos walking. But I love the fact that this is a show that's not just, it could be so easy to write the show as dude just wants to die, constantly tries to die, and that's the joke, and everyone else takes it a lot serious behind him or beside him. And while all that's true, they also are actually doing this really interesting story, and I like the characterization, I like what they're doing with the general party, and I think having a, it's almost like we're starting the show off at the end of where a lot of these shows would be, but we're doing it in a way we don't always see. So on one hand, we seemingly killed the Demon Lord, and now the Demon Lord's daughter wants revenge and is now taking up said title. We have a hero age about to begin, but the hero age is very, like, tyrant-based. Like, they are not good people for the most part, and obviously it's understandable why someone like Daizai would also be kind of lumped in with it. And, I mean, it's not like he's doing himself any favors with half the shit he says out loud. But I do appreciate the fact that one characteristic about him, despite his many questionable attributes, is he is all about the freedom of choice. If your freedom of choice is you actually want to, he'll support it. But if not, you know, he'll push your bitch ass out of the way. It's an interesting dynamic. Wouldn't want to hang out with someone like this, but for an MC, absolutely very, very fun to follow. But great episode. It actually does feel like this show's getting better. The more I understand about the story and characterization, the more I'm enjoying everything about this. But yeah, it's pretty funny. And hey, I'm surprised I've seen now 2 hand-drawn dragons 2 days in the week, which is weird. I mean, I'm so used to seeing the 3D dragons, but between the Osanube adventure yesterday and now this, I like the hand-drawn dragons. Let me know what you thought down below. Be sure to leave a like if you enjoyed, subscribe if you're new around, of course, ring that bell, and like I mentioned, we got those full live reactions over on Patreon, and hey, while you're over there, I'll also give you a video shout out. So today we got David Story, Travis Rains, Athmil, GG78cc, Big Boy J, Cryptic, and Uriel Cruz. So I appreciate the support, everyone. Please take care, and y'all have a good one.